welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sylvie and today I've got another video for you. I was debating with myself about bringing you this video or not, just because I don't know if it's an interesting thing for you to know which books I've acquired or not, but I've thought that the better thing to do is just to divide them month per month. So today's video is January book haul. As I got a lot of books to show you today, I will go very quickly with this introduction, so we will move to the books. So as always, please ignore any background noise, and also sorry for the lightning. Today is a very cloudy day here, but as tomorrow I'm back at work, I don't have other chance to film it. And the last thing that I'd like to tell you is why I chose this background, which is just a white wall. This is because I want to show you the books so you won't be in any way distracted by my shelves, and I'm trying with the other setting for these videos, so let me know down in the comments what are your own thoughts about this change. I think it's everything, so without any further ado, let's start with the first stack of books. So the first pile is basically all those books that I've acquired from a specific Italian publisher because they were selling their books 20% off. I had to bring these books, especially because I want to give it a try to these titles without spending the whole price. So the first one is Dio di Illusioni, or The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is considered one of the first dark academia books, and we are following 5 students in a very elite college set in Vermont for wealthy families, and we are following their lives among classical studies together with their own experiences with alcohol, drugs and erotic games. Until one night, violence explodes and everything will change. This will be my first Donna Tartt's book. I don't know if this is the right one to start with her writing style, but again, it was 20% off, so I said to myself, why not acquire it and give it a go. It's very chunky. I don't think I'm going to read it very soon, but we will see what will happen throughout this year. The second one is another chunky one, and this time I really want to give it a go to one of the masterpieces of French literature. And if you're following Cody from Cody's Book Corner, you may know which book I'm talking about, because she has tried different times to read last year this specific book, and she made it. So I want to give it a go, but not very soon again, because it's very chunky. It's more than 1,000 pages, and I'm speaking about Il Conte di Monte Cristo, or The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I know that the size is misleading, but I assure you guys, it's more than 1,200 pages long. Maybe the better thing to do is just to read some chapters throughout the year. I'm not really sure. Again, I don't know also why I buy big books if I'm always scared to try them. And this is the story of revenge and the true identity behind the figure of the Count of Monte Cristo. Another chunky book to my infinite pile, but why not? I mean, 20% off, I'm in! Next one is a book that was so popular back in the 90s, I think. And from the same author, I've read another book by her during university, and I loved her writing style, so I thought to myself, this book is 20% off and I really want to give it a go to her, I think, most famous work, which is Pomodori verdi fritti al caffè di Whistlestop, or Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistlestop Cafe by Fanny Flagg. So as I've said, I think this is her most famous and beloved work, and it was also adapted into a movie, and we are following the life of this Whistle Cafe in a remote town in Alabama that is owned by two very different characters. So this is the cafe story, the everyday life in this cafe, but I think as for the other book that I've read by the same author, that there will be sub-themes that will be developed throughout the book. So I can't wait to read this as well, and I really think that this is a very cute cover, and I really can't wait to give it a go. And the last two books for this discount theme are two fairy tale collections. This is because I'd like to collect as many fairy tales around the world as possible, as well as mythology and legends and folklore books. So we have Fiabe or Fairy Tale by Charles Perrault, and I think this is the most famous fairy tale writer from French literature. And Fiabe Irlandesi or Irish fairy tales that were collected by James Stephens, and both are gorgeously illustrated, and I will show you what I mean. So for this book we have just black and white illustrations, and I give it an example like this. As you can see, the font is really big, so it's just a special edition that Italian editor made, and I got, I think, other 2 or 3 books like this, but this one is fully colored, illustrated, like for example this one. So again, I give it a go just because they were 20% off, and I really want to have a great collection on my shelves about fairy tales. And together with these discounted books, I've purchased a different book, which is a graphic novel. It really caught my attention just because of the cover. It is Naufraghi or Castaways, and it is by Laura Perez and Pablo Monforte, originally written in Spanish, and we are following this story which is told in the past and in the present of the story into 2 different time periods and into different cities. We have on one side the Madrid in the 80s, and the story then develops in Barcelona in the 90s. Moving from one period to another one is highly illustrated with the different palette of colors that the authors have used, because the past will have warm colors and the present of the story will have cold colors. So I will show you what I mean. We have like this color for the past and this one for the present. I think it will be a great story. The second pile, the main theme of it is second-hand books that I've bought in a bookstore near where I live, and they were half of the price. And the first one is Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip Dick, who was one of the founders of the dystopian genre, I think. This one, as it says on the back cover, is the novel that came Blade Runner. So I think that it was adapted into that movie. And we are following our main character, who is a bounty hunter for runaway androids, and it is set in a post-war world. It doesn't say much more on the backside, but I was caught by the owls and it's very thin. By Philip Dick I got other 2 books, I think. I've got Ubik and The Man in the High Castle. The last one is a book that is present in my Advent Calendar series, so The Man in the High Castle has to be read within this year, but if you have any suggestions which is the best book to start reading Philip Dick novels, please let me know down in the comments and tell me if you have read this one or the other two that I've mentioned. Then I've bought a classic, and it is none other than Mrs Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and I've been caught again by the cover. I mean, it screams roaring ears, okay? I'm really intrigued. It's not very long, and I still need to read some by Virginia Woolf. I think I got To the Lighthouse, which is again one of the books from the Advent Calendar series, so that one has to be read before the end of this year. I don't know anything about Virginia Woolf, even though I've studied it when I was in high school, but I think just for the cover that Miss Dalloway is going to a party, he's having a party, he's hosting a party, something with Miss Dalloway and a party. This is everything that I know by just looking at the cover. I also find out the last book from John Green that I'd like to try, which is The Fault in Our Stars. By the same author, I've got Looking for Alaska and Paper Towns. Still to read all of them, obviously, because yeah, I buy books and then they stay there for a great amount of time before I keep them and read them. This one I know was also adapted into a movie, and it follows two teenagers who are fighting against cancer, I think. They live their condition in a very different way, I think, and I'm really happy to have found it secondhand and off price. Then the last two books from this half price secondhand pile are two books that I've seen a lot on the book community, especially this one, which is a memoir, and I'm not really a fan of memoirs, and it is Educated by Tara Westover. So I don't know anything about this book again, but I've seen it a lot in the past years among the book community. I don't really know anything about it, and it's okay for me, just because again I'm not a great fan of memoir and biographies or autobiographies, but I want to give it a go. I think it's about discovering a very different lives far from her hometown. And the last one is Hidden Sea by Gregory Maguire, who is also the author of Wicked, a kind of retelling about the Nutcracker, because he says a tale of the once and future Nutcracker. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's about the story of the toy maker who created the Nutcracker, but it was half price and it is an hardback, so again I was so happy to give it a go. It would be a very different retelling on the Nutcracker tales. Let me know if you have seen this around your book community, because I know that is a kind of niche book, so yeah. We will see when I will read it and what are my own thoughts about it. So, and now I've bought these three books as new, because they are, well, quite new, especially the third one is it was just released at the end of January, I think. But the first one is a standalone manga. And maybe very, very little I'm into my manga love, because before I used to be a manga lover and collector, and nowadays I'd like to keep this love for mangas but without any exaggeration. This standalone manga, which is Wisdoms by Nagabe. Nagabe is the same author of The Girl from the Other Side. The story of these anthropomorphic creatures were gifted by a wizard who gave animals the same skills as human beings. And for this, they created Wisdoms, School of Magic, where they can live freely without being threatened by humans. And this is a collection of their stories. I still need to read The Girl from the Other Side, but I want to try this first because it's a standalone, and then when I got a chance I want to deep dive into that series. Then moving on to the second one, which is La Paziente Silenziosa, or The Silent Patient by Alex and Michaelidis. It's about a married couple, a famous artist and her husband as a famous photographer, and they have an idyllic life until one night when her husband comes back. Our main character, the artist, shoot him 5 times, and after it she is detained in a kind of a psychiatric hospital, and she refuses to speak anymore. And we are following the investigation about what has happened, why she has murdered him, and we are following this story by the point of view of our main character and narrator, who is a criminal psychologist who was fascinated by their story written from tabloids and magazines. And I really want to give it a go since I've first read about it. This will be an author right for me, because I know that among the book community there are very different and mixed reviews about this one, but also especially about The Maidens, but I want, as I said, give it a go to both of them. And the last one is a very recent release, and I'm speaking about Pandora by Susan Stoke Chapman. This is an historical fiction set in London at the end of the 700s, where we are following Pandora's life. After losing her parents, she is forced to live with her peculiar uncle, who is also now the owner of their family antiquaries shop. And everything will change the day that a mysterious box will arrive in their shop. I'm really happy to have grabbed it, because since I've seen this book being mentioned in the book community, I was so eager to give it a go, and finally I got it in my hands. Next are the books that I've bought in Rome, so I'm going very quickly because if you'd like to know more about them, or my trip with Matteo, my boyfriend, in Rome, I leave on the e-cards above the traveling vlog video dedicated to it. And the first one is Corpi Celesti, or Celestial Bodies by Joka Al-Harti. This is a family saga which involves 3 different sisters with 3 different lives, and it is set in Oman. The second book is a book that I was looking everywhere whenever I visit a bookshop, and finally I found it again because I think it was kind of sold out, and it is La Neve di Uzawa, or Snow in Uzawa by Maria Teresa Orsi and Fabio Sebastiano Tana. This is just an Italian book. I don't think it was ever translated, but I want to give it the English title so you will know just what it is. But it is a short stories collection of different and sometimes famous Japanese authors. It's very interesting, and I can't wait to give it a go. And I found out 2 books in a French bookshop, so it's a bookshop dedicated only to books published in or translated into French, and I found out this one that is D'Ore d'Oreiller by Flore Vesco, and this is a kind of a fantasy middle grade, but also kind of a retelling. The second one is Leçons de Grec, Greek Lessons by Han Kang. Han Kang is a Korean author, and I have never heard about this book, so it's very short, so I really want to give it a try. And this is the story about a student and her Greek professor that will become friends. The last book, which is actually a manga again, is my last purchase while in Rome, which is My Capricorn Friend by Otsuichi and Masaru Miyokawa. This is a standalone manga. We are following two different boys. I don't know if they are teenagers or college students that met by chance one night, even though they kind of know each other, after one of them take revenge of bullyism. Again, another pile of second-hand books. This time I've bought them in a kind of a flea market that I've bumped into by chance in a city near where I live, and we have 4 books. I've never heard of them, but I really want to give it a go. The first one is another historical fiction set during World War II, and it is Quando Hitler rubò il coniglio rosa, or When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. And I think it's a kind of an autobiographical story because the main character is a kind of a reflection of author's own life, because we are following our main character who lives and was born in Germany from a Jewish family and has to leave Germany as soon as possible because of the arrival of Nazism. Then I've seen this and I want to try it, and it is Amiche per la pelle, or Best Friends, sorry, I don't know how to translate it better, by Leila Wadia, by an Indian author that was actually written in Italian, and it follows the story of 4 different main characters, and they live all together in the same neighborhood while learning Italian language and culture, while dealing with racism. It has also some humorous parts and other with a feminism touch. Next we have Il Sangue dei Fiori, or The Blood of Flowers, by Anita Amirezvani, and it is set in the 17th century Persia, and we are following our anonymous main character who is forced into slavery after losing her father, and thanks to her talent for making rugs, she will end up having a kind of an acceptable life, which will reflect the story of Persia itself. So again, it's a kind of historical fiction. And then the last one that I've bought from this flea market is La Luche Ecomel Acqua, Light is Like Water by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a short book, illustrated, and it's for younger readers. And I want to give it a try to Garcia Marquez again, because I've tried 100 Years of Solitude and I didn't enjoy it, I DNF it, it was so boring, I think. But I've seen this, it's very short, and again it's for younger readers, so it won't take me too long, and finally I may be able to finish at least one book by this author. And then our last 2 piles that are very quickly to be mentioned. So these first 2 books are second-hand in some way, and I will explain you immediately, because we have Le Sette Morti di Evelyn R. Castle, or The Seven Deaths of Evelyn R. Castle by Stuart Tartan, and this was actually bought and read first by Matteo's mother, and once she has finished reading this book that I've suggested her to read, and she loved it, she decided to gift it to me. So I finally have a chance to read Stuart Tartan's books. I also got The Devil and the Dark Water by the same author. Still need to read, as always. And this is, I think, again, a kind of an historical fiction, but more on the crime side. So it's an historical crime story. The next book is the third and last in a trilogy that I still need to buy the first two books. This is a very fun fact, but as I've exchanged another book for this one, it really doesn't matter because I received it free. And I'm speaking about Obsidio, which is the last installment of the Illuminate Files by Amy Kaufman and J. Christoph. This is a sci-fi trilogy written in multimedia format, and again, I have to buy the first and the second one before start reading this. Yay! And now the last three books that I've bought with a gift card that Matteo gifted me, but these are all in Italian. We have this one, which is an historical fiction set in a very small village in Guadalupe, and it's a kind of a reflection on history of the country, and it is La Traversata della Mangrovia, or Through the Mangroves by Marise Condé, and it was originally written in French, so sorry for the English title that I've just made up, because I don't know if it was translated into English. And again, we have another historical fiction, but it's also a middle grade, and I want to give it a go. It is set again in World War II, and it is Il Bosco di Bruno, or Bruno's Woods by Simona Morani. It caught my attention, especially because I really want to know how some specific subjects are told for younger readers. And last book for today's book haul, I really hope you are still here. It's new releases that is an adaptation from a manga, once more. And it is Lei e il suo gatto, She and Her Cat by Shinkai Makoto and Nagakawa Maruki. I think it's a kind of a collection of stories told from the point of view of different cats about their lives together with their owners, and in general the lives of their neighborhood. I had to bring this one. This is the very end of today's video. That's all for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're still here, but especially I really hope that from today's video you have found out new titles to add to your wish list. Let me know down in the comments if you have some of the titles that I've mentioned, if you have read any of them, or which ones are you going to add to your list thanks to today's video. If you like it, please leave it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and be a member of this fantastic family of book lovers. And now we wait for you in the next video. Ciao!